Oh, hey, everybody.
Welcome in, folks. We're back to Baseballism. Kevin,
Hey.
Ben, and a beer with us. So I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Anytime you're here in the Battery, make sure you drop by Baseballism, one of our favorite places, and get some of the gear that we have. This is brand new right here, the Extra Innings t-shirt.
Pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
It's sharp.
Yeah, they've got all kinds of new stuff, and every time we come here, we get new hats, all kinds of new gear. You've got the Flagman shirt on there,
Right.
so always something new and exciting going on here at Baseballism. So if you're headed down to the game either tonight, this week, this homestand, make sure you pop in, tell them that Kevin and Ben sent you. I don't know if they'll provide the beers, but
Find us, we might.
yeah, you come by when we're here, and we can make that happen. So.
Just fire away. Let's talk some baseball. We got to see some pretty cool stuff last night. We saw Lucas Sims. Did pretty well. Liked his aggressive demeanor on the mound. Liked his fastball. Loved his changeup. Curveball looked good. Took on the best team in baseball. Didn't bat an eye. Couldn't get any run support.
Yeah.
But some good stuff out of Lucas for one start. And we got to see Ozzie Albies. Now I guess we're going with Albies now.
Albies.
It's officially Ozzie Albies.
Albies.
I hope not with another walk-off tonight, but he is a Georgia guy, call farmer. Ozzie Albies and Johan Camargo up the middle. There are, 58 games left to be played?
Yep.
And would you imagine we see those two guys at second and short most of those games rest of the way?
Well, I think so, and this is something we've talked about on the Clubhouse Report, which is coming up in about an hour on 680 The Fan, so make sure you tune in to us over there. Ben and I will be joined by, we got Freddie Freeman and John Coppola. But yeah, going back to your point, Ben, I do think you're going to see Ozzie play the majority of these games between now and the end of the year at second base. So that logically raises the question, okay, well, what's going to happen to Brandon Phillips? I think Brandon Phillips, when all is said and done, will be the odd man out here. I think they'll either trade him or maybe even release him. We'll see what happens. Hard to speculate at this point. But interesting wrinkle, Dustin Pedroia going on the disabled list for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
Last I checked, he's a second baseman.
He is, so that could be a fit there. I think he would easily pass through waivers, no problem. It won't shock me if he eventually gets released, if the Braves don't work some kind of a trade. I think that's the writing on the wall to me.
Yeah.
I think the Braves are happy with what Brandon Phillips has done. You say thank you, and you move along. And I think the Braves have made it very clear since spring training that their focus was the young guys in the farm system, and once they're here, that's how this thing's going to go. And for Ozzie, I'm not going to get that right. Ozzie Albies.
$1 in the jar every time you call him.
He's been Albies for 3 years, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden he's changing. He's Prince all of a sudden. He's changing his name.
Yeah.
But John Coppola told us in spring training that once he's ready, it doesn't matter what's been happening at the major league level, he's going to play second base. So here he is, and there are 2 months left in the season. And I'd imagine those two guys will be there most of the rest of the way. And the only kind of wrench that could be thrown in the system is what happens in September upon Dansby Swanson coming back, because I feel like he will. But I'd imagine he'll be there AAA probably most of the month of August, if not the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then see where he fits into the mix. People want to know now what this combination is going to be at second, short, and third between Albies, Camargo, and Swanson. I don't think we get that answer this year. I don't know if we get that answer in spring training next year. I think that's something that they're going to continue to try to figure out. We can talk about our favorites. They'd like for it to be Albies at second, Swanson at short, Camargo at third base. That seems logical. But if Swanson comes back and is not any more polished at shortstop than he has been, then I think Camargo is going to remain your shortstop.
I think so too. And I think going back to spring training, you and I got a chance to call, about 10 or 12 games together this spring. Camargo, to me, was one of the guys that really stood out. And I think getting towards the end of spring, that last 10 to 12 to 14 days, he was right there in the mix. He was still in big league camp. He was playing well, swinging the bat well. So I think maybe, it's a combination of starting to read the headlines, maybe even starting to put a little pressure on yourself that, look, I got a chance to make this team coming out of camp.
Yeah.
I think that's partly why things kind of tailed off, especially on the defensive end. He's always had a strong arm, an accurate arm. I've been really impressed by that. But I think that, as far as Camargo goes, it's hard to argue he's not one of the 1 or 2 or 3 biggest surprises of this entire season.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch him. Switch hitter.
We will.
Hit a home run last night. The arm, to me, is the most impressive thing with Camargo. The arm is why he's at shortstop, in my opinion. I think that people talk about Dansby Swanson struggling defensively, having a difficult time at the plate. That's only half of the equation. The other half is what Camargo has been able to do, because he's been very good in the field and at the plate. So that's been fun to watch. It is a small sample size for him this year, the way that it was for Swanson a year ago, but can't argue with the results that he's given. and I'm pretty excited about him. And I'm excited for the prospect of having Acuna here at some point. September, maybe October, or maybe August. I don't know what you do with Matt Kemp and how long he stays on the DL, but I feel like Ronald Acuna is a guy that we see at some point this season as well.
Yeah, I do too. And Acuna is the real deal. Let me just tell you that. I know some fans were wondering leading up to the trade deadline. I think the biggest question I got a lot of the times was, what's going to happen to Ronald Acuna? Are the Braves going to move him in a potential deal? He's not going anywhere. I can promise you that. This guy has all the tools you'd ever want from a 19-year-old kid who's already been compared to a young Andrew Jones. So I'm excited for Acuna. For now, I want to see him stay at AAA, hit every day. I want to see him continue to face better quality starting pitching. But I think this kid's got a really, really bright future. And I think when we go to spring training next year, you're going to be looking at Ronald Acuna as probably the biggest storyline as far as guys who are trying to make that team coming out of camp.
Yeah, which is exciting. And I'll be honest, you need some excitement right now. This team was playing some pretty good baseball and went off a cliff here in the last week and a half. You get swept in Philadelphia. That's frustrating. You need something to be excited about if the team's not going to be winning. And young guys in the future, to me, that's a big part of that. And I'm excited to see what we might see in the final 58 days of the year. You guys are quiet today. What do you got for us?
Come on, fire away. We'll take your questions, comments. Someone has told you less chewing gum, more beer. So, I mean,
yeah.
This guy, you know.
You could just do college style, shake this thing up, shotgun this
Poke
thing.
Shotgun. There we go. That's it. The good old
That's
days.
spike ratings. Spiking beers have been in Kevin in baseball. What could possibly go wrong?
Hey, going back to what you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, again, Lucas Sims. I mean, for anybody who was either here at the ballpark last night or watched on TV or, of course, listened to our broadcast, this guy was unbelievable. I really like what we saw out of Lucas Sims. I thought he kept his emotions in check really well. He's facing the best team in the universe last night, and he goes out there and gives you 6 innings, gives up 3 runs. You know, really, you got to tip your cap. Cody Bellinger's, I mean, just on a tear like we haven't seen from a rookie in a while. He's going to do that to a lot of different people. But overall,
when he got aggressive, came right back at him the next day. But he got him to ground out. I like that.
Yeah, and he was throwing all of his pitches in different counts. I think he had the confidence that he could go out there and he could get those guys out. So I think I really like what we saw from Lucas Sims. I'll be very curious, Ben, and this is something that I was kind of thinking about here recently. I wonder if last season Lucas really benefited from not having all the attention on him. Obviously, he's a former first-round pick. He's a guy that there was a lot of focus on being an Atlanta area native. But there was other guys down there. There was Whistler, there was Blair, there was Jenkins. I wonder if something like that, not having to be the center of attention all the time, I wonder if that helped him kind of get his stuff together and kind of get back on track.
It may have. I think another part of Lucas Sims is we have to realize that not all these guys, just because they're a first-round draft pick or they're a top prospect, it doesn't mean that they're going to be here in 2 years.
Right.
Some may be here in a couple of years, like we saw with a Harper or a Judge or a Trout. Some guys take 3-4 years, and that's the path that it took for Lucas Sims, and now he's here. So he found his own way, and it's not ideal, I guess. You'd like to see your first-round pick from 5 years ago here sooner. But he's here now, and I think that's the biggest part. People asking about trades. Why no trades this year for the Braves? I don't think it's because there's a lack of trying. I really feel like the time to trade Matt Adams was probably around the first week of July. Into June, early July, if you wanted to trade him, that's when Freddie Freeman was deciding that he wanted to try third base. It was right at the turn of the month, June to July, is when he went down to AAA. He was rehabbing, he was playing third base, and then he came back up and was in there for that DC series. And they tried it out, but there's no doubt that Matt Adams was at his peak value. At that point of the season, he was not traded. They wanted to try this first and third thing, wanted to try to win some games. They played some good baseball, but then it hasn't gone all that well lately, and I think he's still a guy you could trade in the offseason, but maybe the return is in November, December is not going to be what it would have been in June, July.
Another plug, shameless plug for the Clubhouse Report. You will hear from the general manager himself, John Coppola, talking about the trade deadline. I visited with him yesterday. We talked about how things played themselves out and why the Braves kind of decided to stay where they were. So you'll hear from the GM coming up here in about an hour on 680 The Fan here in Atlanta, 680thefan.com. But Ben, going back to Matt Adams, I think that there's two ways of looking at it. There's one, that his value probably would never be higher than it was a month ago. The flip side of that coin is you have a bat like that under your control this offseason where you could deal him to a ball club that could be desperate to try to find some power. I think it's a really tough balance trying to determine, do you move him now or do you move him in the offseason? And I really do think that they had to decide that he could probably get you more this offseason. A bat like that, say he's on the free agent market, I mean, he's going to get some significant money.
So yeah, he should. He'll have to remember. Look, he's got waivers coming. Or he's got arbitration coming up. Interesting spot because he's late to us. He's 27, 28 years old. Now's the time for him to make money if he's going to, because this is going to be the last opportunity, I feel, given his age.
Yeah.
But the Braves were in an interesting position. I think they're hoping to catch a team who would be desperate right against the trade deadline, who needed a first baseman / DH, left-handed bat. And if you can find a team desperate enough to give up what you wanted, boom, pull the trigger. And if you don't, then you try it again come the offseason. That's kind of where they were. Someone just asked about Jim Johnson. Will he pass through waivers? And then he said that was more of a wish than a question, which is completely understandable. I don't understand the Jim Johnson defenders. I'm going to just be as blunt as humanly possible. The last 2 months, he's not gotten the job done, plain and simple. You can show me his statistics. You can talk about advanced stats and metrics and things like that. Here's the statistic that I care about. When the Braves have a 1-run lead, and it's the 9th inning, and they hand him the ball, do any of you feel comfortable with him getting the baseball? Because I don't. He's a guy who pitches to contact. His walks have been up. Stat that I threw out the other day on the air, he has more walks in his last 23 appearances than Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell have combined for the season. So I don't need that out of my closer. And I think that there was a time, when, especially when he was in Baltimore, 2012 and 2013, when he was a dominant closer. He's not that guy anymore. I'd like to see Viz get a few more opportunities. I'd like to see Viz take that role and run with it, because I think he has the stuff to do it, but he's lacked the consistency. So I would like to see more swing and miss stuff in the 9th inning than what Jim Johnson is giving.
Well, and I think Arodys Vizcaíno gives that to you. This is a guy whose fastball's in the upper 90s. When he's able to go out there and locate it and throw his breaking ball for a strike, it's a really nasty weapon to mix in there. So I think that, I think what you've seen from Jim Johnson lately is probably what you're going to get. Probably a 7th inning guy. You're not going to have him probably in those higher leverage situations. Snit gave him every opportunity. Let's be honest. I mean, they gave him time and time again where they stuck with him.
Sure.
I think
they were loyal.
They were
loyal to Jim Johnson.
No question. They gave him plenty of opportunities. I think back to that series in Washington. What was that? Right before the break. A 4-1 lead, and the Braves end up losing the game in the 9th inning.
Should have won at least 3 games in that series.
You should have won 3. Yeah, that's a series that I think you look back on, and that was a really tough one to let get away. But again, I think you're going to see more of what you see now. Likely Viz in the 9th, Jose Ramirez in the 8th, and then Jim Johnson probably as a 6th or 7th inning guy. Someone a minute ago asked about Dansby Swanson. When do we expect to see him back? September, early September, when that season's done. I think that the Braves want him to play every single day, go out there, get 4 at-bats a day, and make sure that he can, find his confidence again. I'm not worried about Dansby Swanson whatsoever. I think that a lot was placed on Dansby's shoulders coming into this season. For a kid who only played 38 games in the big leagues last year, there's a bobblehead, there was a picture on the there was billboards, I mean, it was everything. I mean, there was jerseys. I mean, there's a lot on his plate. So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of take a step back, hit the reset button. The comments today have been unbelievable, and just kind of find his stroke again.
Somebody asked about minor league relievers.
You're going to skip that last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an acquired taste. Talking about Bud Light. No. Somebody asked about minor league relievers, and then they went on to ask about H.A. Minter. He's in AAA. At spring training, I think you hope that he can maybe make the jump at some point this season and be someone you count on out of your bullpen. Lefty, has good arm, has good stuff, but had the injury. And I think maybe next season, maybe he's someone that you count on a little bit more and see a lot more major league appearances for him in the future. So I hope that's one that comes to fruition. I also feel like some of these guys, as they progress through the minor league system, guys who are starters at the lower levels now, maybe some of those guys start to determine maybe this is a reliever, maybe this guy stays a starter, and maybe some of those guys filter their way through and find their way to the Braves bullpen. But I think they've got to, in order to bolster that bullpen, I think they have to go out, sign guys, trade for guys. The best way to make your team better at a low cost is bullpen, is relievers. You can add those guys 3-4 guys at a relatively low cost compared to other positions on the field and make your team a lot better with a much better bullpen. And I think that's definitely a task that they have to tackle this offseason. That, and they have to find another starting pitcher, someone that they can trade for or sign.
Someone a minute ago asked about Fulte. I believe the question was around, is he becoming the ace, something to that effect? I think so.
Yeah. If you had one game to win right now, Fulte gets the ball, if you ask me.
I agree.
And R.A. Dickey would be second. I mean, that's how far Tehran has fallen. I don't know to make heads or tails out of Tehran. You can go back to his seasons a few years ago. He's 200 innings. He's a sub-4 ERA. He had a few seasons where he was a sub-3 ERA. Home runs were down, but he's given up 26 home runs at this point in the season. That leads the National League. He's never given up more than 27 home runs in a year. And if you determine that he's a guy that's just not going to be able to figure it out here at home, then I think you have to do something with him. I do like the fact that he can be an innings eater. When he's healthy, he should be able to be a 200-inning-a-year guy. Guys like that are valuable to me. That's why I feel like the Braves would consider bringing back R.A. Dickey next season for a team option of $8 million just for the sake that he can eat innings and be competitive. He's not going to go win the Cy Young or anything, but he can give you an opportunity to go deeper in ball games, help your bullpen. I still feel like Julio Tehran can be that guy, but they've got to determine if he can get it together at home, because this isn't changing. He's going to be getting 16, 17, 18 starts a year here, and if he's 1-7 through 12 starts and that continues, he can't be here anymore. I don't see another way around that. That's how inconsistent he's been, to the point where 3 years ago he's your ace. Heck, 2 years ago he's your ace, and now we're talking about him being third or fourth best in your rotation at best. Yeah, this is my theme song. I love Adele.
This was actually going to be Ben's walk-up song.
Correct.
If he ever made
I
the
would
big
rake
leagues.
with this song.
Yeah, would you? Seriously, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh, God.
I'm putting him on the spot because he does this to me all the time.
It'd
so I'm putting him
be
on the
some Zeppelin or something
Yeah.
like that. Something classic that's been good for a long time.
How about Rolling Stone? How about a little Hang Fire?
That'd be fun.
There you go.
Fun, yeah.
And we going way back on that one. But again, hey, we're at Baseballism here in the Battery, Atlanta. If you're coming down to the game, swing on by. We do these shows a couple times a month. We always love hanging out and talking, of course, Braves baseball and everything else going on around the big leagues with all you guys out there. Should be interesting tonight, going back to your point about Julio Tehran against the Dodgers tonight.
It was free.
What's that?
It was free. You would too.
Free 99.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We love Bud Light.
Yeah, if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah, exactly right. But again, make sure you stop by and see our friends here at Baseballism.
Well, this guy from Spain, they've got a website, baseballism.com. You can order everything you see here.
These are the new hats too. Check these out. These are brand new.
Go ship it to Spain.
Hot off the presses.
Or Kevin will take it to you in Spain.
I would come visit. I mean, yeah, if I get the invite. I mean, I haven't gotten an international invite. People usually tell me to go other places.
That'd be great.
Will Snit be back next year? I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Ben, what say you?
I'm going to say I don't know yet.
Okay.
So read into that what you will. And the reason I say that is, not to say that there is not an interest from the front office in him for next year. I just, in terms of gauging Copy's interest and the rest of the front office in having Snit back next year, I think it's still up in the air. I really do. And if they wanted to go a different direction than them bringing up all these young guys and struggling for the next 2 months, that would play right into the wheelhouse of a general manager who had his eye on another guy for this team for next year. And I'm just trying to consider everything. Is Ron Washington a candidate? Perhaps. I think they want to go younger if they go another way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Snit won't be here, but I think if they go a different direction, I think it would be a younger guy. I don't know if it's a DeRosa or a David Ross or someone like that. But those two guys, I think, would pique the interest of the Braves. Someone cut from that cloth. Younger guy, Ross, DeRosa, etc. And I don't think that decision has been made one way or the other. I think they're still trying to figure that out.
How much stock do you put in? I'm curious your thoughts, because there's the Chipper. I can tell you, Chipper will not be the manager. Chipper,
it'd be fun though.
You get some great sound bites pre and post game. I can tell you that much if Chipper was in charge. But I'll tell you this: it's interesting because you look around baseball and teams are trending to go younger and guys that are getting their first opportunity. I'm curious to see if this continues, if you continue to give guys opportunities that have not had previous managerial experience, and certainly DeRosa would fit that category. So
right.
We'll see. I know that the front office really likes Snit. The players love playing for him. He is the definition of a player's manager. He always has his guys back That's really the big reason he's here. Those guys would come to us in the media last year in August and September when the team was playing good baseball and say, look, we want Snit back. He's the guy for the job. So we'll see. I agree with Ben. I'm leaning towards yes, but I don't know that decision has been officially made yet.
And I'm not leaning.
You're not
We'll cover that at another time. I'm not leaning one way or the other. We'll wrap up with this. Somebody asked about our World Series prediction. They asked about Dodgers, Astros. Yay, nay?
Yeah, I mean, look, those two teams, when you look at what they have done, especially the Dodgers, I mean, good grief. This is a team that is going to run away and hide with the West. And all they do is go out and get Yu Darvish. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on.
I think the Dodgers have to be the odds-on favorite in the National League. American League, I'm not 100% sold on the Astros pitching rotation yet, as compared to what the Yankees just obtained and as compared to what the Red Sox might be able to do. That's still up in the air. I like their lineup better than anybody's. I think the Astros lineup is awesome. But when it comes to the postseason, it's about bullpen, it's about rotation. And Yankees really made a hard push, getting Dre, getting Garcia, and you had that with Severino and CC and some of those guys.
CC's been good, hasn't he?
Very good. Well, go figure. He's in a contract year.
Oh, right.
Imagine that.
Forgot about that.
And Camargo at third base. Somebody asked real
shortstop,
quick.
I think it was shortstop. Was it shortstop or second base? Either one.
He's at third base if he's not at shortstop. I mean, it depends on what you get at shortstop. That might be a really stupid way to answer that question, but happy birthday to whomever. Cheers.
Happy birthday. I think it was Rupert. Was that Rupert?
Happy birthday, Roop.
Happy birthday, buddy. Cheers.
Camargo's either at short or third to start the season next year. A lot of that depends on what Dansby does or doesn't do. So.
We'll see.
All right, we're about done with these things. So
yeah.
We got to go. We got another show we got to go do.
Reminder, 680 The Fan, 680thefan.com. You can always follow us and keep up with us on Twitter at 680_the_fan, at Ingram Radio, at Kevin McAlpin, with all the latest on baseball and my 2-year-old son. We always have plenty of pictures of Max to go around, too. But we appreciate everybody.
Olin Mills over here.
We'll see. Maybe someday. But appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate the questions. We will do this again very soon. And, of course, 680 The Fan, 2:30 Braves Clubhouse Report. Me and this guy will be talking to you for 30 minutes talking Braves baseball. So always enjoyed it. And, again, make sure you come see our friends. Baseballism, brand new hats, brand new shirts right here at the Battery Atlanta. We'll see you guys.